Welcome back, everyone, to my brand new spoiler review of the series finale of Stranger Things. Season 5, which just wrapped up its final episode on New Year's Eve. So, my name is Max Newberg. Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new episode of Max Talks Movies. If you guys are new guys to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring that bell for notifications so you can tune into all my videos on a daily basis. I do movie, TV show reviews, added theater reactions. I break down the box office. I break down awards season. I basically post videos 1 to 2 every single day. So if you like that type of content, please subscribe. We're almost literally under 10 subscribers away from 400. So it would mean a lot for me, guys, to subscribe to the channel. Comment down below. What are you guys' thoughts on Stranger Things Season 5? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Tell me the specifics, why you loved particular aspects. Tell me why you particularly did not like some other things. Let's have a nice discussion because a lot of people out there are having very toxic discussions about the show. I'm here to talk about this show in a very helpful and nice manner. Even if you disagree with me, I'm all cool with people who disagree with me. I just want to have a fun conversation with you guys in the comments. And also, guys, please hit that thumbs up button. Again, if you're not familiar with the channel, I have been breaking down the show since season 4. And Stranger Things is one of, if not my favorite show of all time. And I was obviously very excited for these episodes. Volume 1, I thought we got off to a really excellent start. I did not like Volume 2. The more I thought about it, the more I slept on it. I just did not enjoy Volume 2 a lot. I thought it was a very much a disappointment. Not that it was like this awful television. I just didn't think we were heading into much momentum. And people, of course, when you have a popular entity such as Stranger Things, um, I am all used to discourse because my favorite IP by a mile is Star Wars. And I grew up with the prequels, which were hated by every generation except my generation, and now everyone seems to be liking the prequels now. And then I was 13 years old when The Force Awakens came out, and I grew up with the new trilogy. And once Last Jedi hit theaters when I was, what was it, 15, 16 years old, it became the most divisive thing to talk about ever, just in general, entertainment or not. So I am used to discourse, especially for movie franchise or just franchises in general that I deeply care about. Now, I wasn't as harsh as many people were for Volume 2, even though I wasn't a fan of it. I think people obviously have their agendas on why Volume 2 wasn't good. And but also people did have realistic criticisms like I did for Volume 2. So that was my headspace going into this finale episode. Again, we're gonna go full spoilers. So if you've not seen the series finale of Stranger Things, definitely come back, watch that, then come back here and watch my spoiler review. But this is more gonna be like a spoiler general thoughts video because I used to like doing like breakdown what actually happens in the episode. But if you guys are watching a spoiler review, you know what happens in the episode. I'm just here to give my general thoughts in spoiler fashion for the episode. And for me, did I think this is one of the greatest finales you'll ever see? No. Do I think this finale could have been a lot better? Sure. I think there are definitely some bigger swings the Duffers could have taken that maybe could have made this one of the most iconic finales in the history of television. True. While I say that, I am satisfied enough with what happened in this finale episode. I thought it was a very strong episode that, again, I said it's not fantastic. It's not unbelievable. It's not a masterpiece of a finale. Is this my favorite season of the show? Definitely not. I will probably do a ranking of the season sometime this week. But this is definitely not a top 2 or 3 season of the show, in my opinion. Um, but I thought they did a good job wrapping things up, tying everything together, and giving fans, in my opinion, a satisfying finale with what happened at the end of the episode. Now, a lot of people, including myself, coming into the season, all of the questions were which characters were going to die. And I think people, this is just my opinion, so many people I'm seeing online, and I don't watch again, I don't watch full-fledged reviews until I do review. I'm just looking at people's comments, and then obviously I have multiple friend groups who watch the show and I've talked about this with, um, of all ages also, by the way. Um, People in their eyes thought people should have died. And in their heads, if their character in their head didn't die, it led to an underwhelming episode. And I do think we're in a very dangerous time with critiquing movies and television. As someone who watches well over 100 movies of a year and tons of shows, we live in a time now where so many people visualize what they want out of a particular movie and show. They want to see this happen. They want to see this person die. They want to see this person stay alive. They want to see this person's epilogue. And if it doesn't fall into place how they see it in their heads, they think it's a bad episode. And I think that is such a dangerous and, for me, just not a good way to criticize television. Of course, we all have predictions for Stranger Things. I had my predictions. Other people had their predictions. My predictions, obviously, at the beginning of the season, a lot of it didn't come to fruition. Does that mean Stranger Things 5 was bad because what I thought was going to happen didn't happen? No. I want sometimes for shows, actually, and movies, not to go in the direction I want. I watch so many predictable movies and shows every single year, and some of it, sometimes predictable is good. I think sometimes not everyone's predictions have to come true for a thing to be good or bad. And again, I've seen very fair criticisms after the finale. I am going to get into it, but I really just want to start with this kind of mini rant before I break down the episode, because I think so many people out there said, well, if Steve doesn't die, or Elle isn't dead, or if Max isn't dead, if all these characters are not dead or something, I think they did a bad thing. I just disagree with that sentiment. I think people visualize what they wanted from a Stranger Things finale. Not saying everyone who didn't like the episode, but many people in my friend groups, many people on social media were basically saying, I wanted it to go this way, and because it didn't go this way, I don't like the show. And I think that's for my opinion, a lazy way to think about a movie or a show. Because I was coming into the season thinking, I thought a couple of them were going to die. And then at the end of, even though I didn't really like volume two, I was in the camp of, I didn't really need anyone to die for me to feel satisfied. And some people say, oh, it's going to lose the stakes of the show. I disagree. I think you didn't need that many characters dying, or if at all, for the stakes of the show to hit. And for me, I thought the show was very intense in this finale episode. There was some really good action. Like the first two volumes, just amazing character moments. And I also really liked the epilogue here. Now, I would say the most, I don't know, underwhelming, or so I liked the fight with the crew against Vecna. With 11 inside that, the hive thing going up against Vecna, and the rest of the crew, with torches and guns shooting down the big creature while they're fighting in it. I thought that was really cool because, again, it made sure that everyone was kind of involved, and they really made it a team effort to kill the creature. So many seasons, it's kind of just like, let's just let Elle handle this and we'll all just stand around and be in distraction. No, everyone did feel like a necessary part of the big boss fight at the end. I will say this, could it have gone on longer? Yes. I kind of feel like they did kind of do the Vecna fight very quickly, because the epilogue is around like 40 minutes, 35 minutes long. And I understand the epilogue being that long. I just thought we could have had a longer big boss fight with Vecna to culminate the show. Not that the action was great. And when we got the Elle versus Vecna stuff, I thought it was very cool seeing like everyone joke around with their weapons. Like when Mike was talking to Nancy, like I need a gun. Like if you want your brother's death on your hands, I need a weapon. And Mike thinks that he gets a gun, and then Lucas is like, that's just a flare, dude. That's just a flare. I thought that was very funny. We had Steve almost dying towards the beginning of the episode. Now, the moment they cut to black, when Steve actually fell off the balcony or whatever, I was like, he's not dead. They would really just show him fall to his death or fall into the mist. When they cut to black, I was like, okay, so he's not dead. It was really cool to see Jonathan make the save there. The character that died, I guess, the main character that died, obviously Vecna, but Kali as well. Kali dies. She gets shot. Hopper, like, is still very hit or miss with Kali throughout the episode, but then he obviously has her back towards the end of her life, sadly. But Vecna gets in Hopper's head in this episode, which I thought was really effective and a good way to get 11 out of that pool. Um, Having Max and 11 and Kali in the brain of Vecna, I thought was very well done. I didn't think. So here's my problem. I thought they did a good job with the coming out scene in episode 7. My problem with Will coming out was I thought it could have happened much earlier in the season. Now, that could have changed my mind based on what they did in this episode, because what the setup of Will coming out in episode 7 was Will really had to face his fears and bring himself to come to that point in order to really become full strength, have the full power set to go up against Vecna. And when you watch this finale, it doesn't feel like Will needed to do anything like that in order to become a key member in this fight. That's just my opinion. I'm all for them going for that, Will coming out scene. I thought it was a really beautiful scene, very emotionally riveting scene. And I think again, it could have happened earlier in the season. That was my problem with the scene, not like the scene itself, just the where it happened in the show. But if they were gonna have that, I think they could have given Will like a bigger thing to do. Because he just again goes into Vecna's mind, helps Vecna a little bit, help out with 11. But Will doesn't have like a major impact in the big Vecna fight. And I thought he would have after he was like, I can't really do this unless I can get this off my chest. And I just didn't feel like there was enough momentum with that plot line heading into this finale. But I like the team teaming up. We obviously get Joyce killing Vecna, which I thought was the absolute right move. Because halfway through the episode, I was like, what is Joyce doing other than just standing next to Will as he does things? And then Joyce says, you mess with the wrong effing family and chops Vecna's head off. I thought that was such an extremely satisfying moment. And again, my problem with volume 2 was we had so much intensity and oh my God, this person's in danger, this person's in danger in volume 1. Volume 2, we really didn't get any of that. Here we got it because right after you're like, oh my God, we finally killed Vecna. The military are right there because as we know, they are after Elle. And that's when Elle makes her decision and makes the ultimate sacrifice and closes herself in the upside down. Now that's as of we knew at that point. Very emotional scene between Elle and Mike as they part ways. Elle had a really amazing scene with Hopper towards the beginning of the episode where she's like, I'm not a kid. I'm not your first daughter. I'm an adult. I need to make my own choices. Like I can't worry about everything happening with you making the decision. I need to make some of these decisions myself, which I thought was a really powerful scene. We got a lot of good flashbacks to earlier seasons, like the building of Hopper and Elle. And then when Joyce was about to kill Vecna, each one had their flashbacks of kind of their catastrophic moments in the show. If it was if Eddie's death or Bob's death or anything in particular. And I thought they did a good job bringing out that nostalgia feel. Again, it's different, might be hit different for me because again, I am the same age as the main kids on the show. And so when I see the flashbacks to like season 1, season 2, it brings like a lot of emotions to me because again, that was like 8 years ago. And I remember being that age watching Stranger Things. And I think it does hit different for, I guess, my generation because at least for me, I am the exact same age as these kids. So it's sometimes it can be emotional when they flash back to seasons 1 and 2 and see how far we've really come in life and obviously things like that, which I enjoyed. So we get this big 11, thing. Then we get to the 18-month time jump for the epilogue. And a lot of people are also complaining about the epilogue. I think you needed the epilogue. You needed everyone to see where they're at, what they're doing, and kind of the full satisfying conclusion to all of these characters. So we see Steve coaching up the baseball team. I thought Steve had for me the most satisfying ending. Like that's exactly what I thought Steve would be doing in this situation. So he's with the kids. Of course, him out of the 4 adults, he loves being in Hawkins while Jonathan, Nancy, and Robin are trying to get the hell out of Hawkins in this situation. But I love their rooftop scene where you talk about how they kind of get emotional, how they rarely get to see each other and how much they really, they have other friends, but really nothing is like them all being there together. The fact that they commit to, meeting up in Philadelphia once a month together at Robin's uncle's house, I thought was actually just a really amazing moment. The thing a lot of us can relate. Again, I'm someone who has moved around the country here multiple times, and I've friends across the country, I guess I'll say, and it's tough. Like I've had other friends, and there's times I'm like, it just doesn't hit different with this friend group than it does the other friend group, or things like that. And I think I found it to be, especially again, as someone who's now graduated college at this point and now is a full-fledged adult, it is like I think very authentic and made me think like, this friend group made me feel this way. I wish I could get back to feeling that way with this particular friend group. I thought it was a very riveting and a very authentic scene. Then we get the big graduation scene, which I thought was really great. Obviously, that's what Eddie said what he was going to do at his graduation speech. Dustin does it wearing the Hellfire, and everyone's so impressed. I thought it was very cool. They all get invited to a party, but they turn it down, and we're like, what are they doing? And they go to the Wheeler house. I'll get to that in a second. Hopper, Joyce go to Enzo's. Hopper proposes, which was really sweet. And he's like, I'm going to get a job in New York. It pays 20% more and will be. Everyone really needs to get the hell out of Hawkins. I don't disagree. No matter, even though it's now completely safe, I think everyone needs a total reset. But Mike also flakes at the morning of graduation, and Hopper is brought in. And Hopper and Mike have had moments together, but not like one-on-one, like this long of scene. And basically, Hopper relates to Mike, which is like, I also went down a road where, of regret, of thinking I did something wrong to cause this person dying. And it really isn't. We need to move on and have a positive life and be grateful for the people who we have around us. I thought it was a really good scene because Hopper and Mike have not always been on the same page since Mike started dating Eleven in season two. But I thought they had a really nice scene as well. But the show ultimately ends at the Dungeons and Dragons, where we started in season one. Max is involved, which I thought was really a nice moment. I think Sadie Sink, who has been probably the best performance of the child actors on this show since season three, she is just phenomenal. And I think, again, she's going to have a really strong career outside of Stranger Things. But we get this, all of them playing the Dungeons and Dragons and the comedy of it, but then it gets obviously very emotional. We see what all the people, are doing. Steve driving up to see Dustin, I thought was really cool. And Dustin has it also in his speech was like, it's no matter how horrible a situation it was, I have friends you would never think I would be friends with. And we all have had friends who we've never thought we'd be friends with or get along with. I thought it was a good message for everyone out there that wasn't force fed. I thought it was really nicely done. So the fact that Steve like still drives up to college to see Dustin, I thought was really cool. Wills obviously has his situation. Lucas as well with Max. And Finn Wolfhard's character, Mike, writing the novels and stuff. And then we get this whole ambiguous ending where Mike has this theory that Eleven is alive. And it's that when they go to the military, his theory is that, those blaring things that stop Eleven's powers, they were there and they obviously were playing in his mind. So how could Eleven first of all, not just get to the upside down spot where she was, but also use her powers to talk to Mike? Because if they were blaring, she wouldn't be able to use her powers. And then he says it was the teleportation thing from Kali. So Eleven snuck out, is alive, went to that waterfall, and they just all cry and say that they really do hope that is the story. Now, I actually like that it kind of had an ambiguous ending, which is like more likely I do think Eleven is dead. Now, here's my take on it. The theory of those things were there, like the blaring sounds, and they weren't being used, I thought actually made sense because they're there looking for Eleven. If they have those things there, they wouldn't wait to like see Eleven to like blare those. They would just start blaring them once they came through the thing. So that made sense. I will say this, the part that didn't totally make sense for that theory is I don't think Eleven would have this whole journey and go to the waterfalls by herself and go on life completely by herself, not letting anyone know she's alive. That I do disagree with. But again, it's an ambiguous theory. Everyone out there now will have a theory if they truly think Eleven is dead or Eleven is alive. But I think they did it. The good thing they did with that is they made it like the characters themselves, even though they lean like they don't think she's alive, they all have hope that she's alive, which I thought was a really powerful thing. Then we get them all crying putting their books for the shelves for the last time. And the new generation, Holly and her friends playing the Dungeons and Dragons, and Mike kind of just looks on very proudly. And that is how the show ends. The Duffers have already announced there's a live action spinoff not involving any of the characters on the show. So it's supposed to be new characters, new time period. We're getting an animated Stranger Things show next year, which will be an animated show that's taking place in between seasons 2 and 3. And then we're getting this live action spinoff show. The Duffers have a deal right now at Paramount, so they're mostly going to be done with Netflix other than Stranger Things stuff. But for these characters, it's the last time they're probably going to play these characters in live action. And again, I have grown up with the show. I was the same age as the kids. It is amazing how far we've come. As I said, they could have definitely taken some bigger swings, but I think a lot of people just aren't putting themselves in the Duffer shoes, which is one of the top TV shows of all time. And again, I would have respected if they took big swings, but if they took big swings that could ruin the legacy of the show, that would be bad. Because I know some of the best shows of all time for people, Lost, Game of Thrones, for example, those shows' last seasons or episodes really affected for people the entirety of the show. And I think Stranger Things was at a point where, are we going to be one of those shows that takes such big risks that it kills the entire 10-year run of a show? And I said this before to other people, look at Lost. It took Damon Lindelof over a decade after the last season of Lost to get back on his feet, which was Watchmen. And look, Benioff and Weiss have not come back at all, really, since the last season of Game of Thrones. So it really can kill careers when you make a horrible finale of television that is the ending of such a iconic show. So I understand why they made a safer finale than I was expecting. It was definitely a safe finale, but it was still a satisfying finale that left me very emotional and happy with the show. As I said, is this a top 3 season of the show? No, it's not for me. But to act like that means that this was a bad season of television, I also disagree with. So that is my long-winded rant thoughts on the new season of Stranger Things. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll be back with more videos coming soon here on Max Talks Movies.